Hey people, I want to share this story about my early days in New York, 1981, and it was like mid 81. And so let me get comfortable here in my hammock, okay? So for some reason, I used to work at night. My job was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Uh, 6 days a week, and I work far away. In other videos, I told the story about taking the bus. So as time went by, you know, I made this good friend at work that he was a good guy. He was Portuguese, Jose, and he had a beautiful car. He had a Trans Am. Man, that thing was nice. I don't know if you guys remember the Trans Am, the Pontiac Trans Am. Uh, it was BA. So he had a brand new one. So good kid. He was like maybe 2, 3 years older than me. So I made a deal with him. I said, I took the bus uh, going to work, and then I went. I made a deal with him that I was going to pay him $20 a week to drop me off in the morning. And he said, yeah, it was kind of out of his way, but it was like maybe like 3 miles out of his way. But he said, okay, and there was days that he said, I can drop you off, or take the bus. But most of the time he took me home. And this particular day, they I don't know why they let us go earlier. So he dropped me. He used to drop me off in the main avenue, Jamaica Avenue and 170th Street. So the building where I live with my brother was like half block, you know, that away, and this was the main uh, road. So he used to drop me in the corner there, continue turn around and go his way to his house, and I'll walk half a block to this building. It was like a 7, 8 story building. We live like in the fifth floor, my brother's apartment, and it's funny. It's funny how close I've been to death. How many times? You have no idea how many times I have stared at death in their face. And God, and the only reason I'm here is because God don't want me dead yet. He doesn't want me to, go to Him. Maybe I need to fix some things over here first before He calls me up. Uh so as He dropped me off there, He take off His way, and I start walking towards where I live. Nobody in the streets. Like this is like 4 a.m. in the morning. Quiet. Like not even cars driving by. And I felt the hairs in my neck rise. And immediately I knew I was being, stuck. Growing up in the jungle, you learn to feel things. And I turn around and I look and I see this black guy. I mean, back then, black person was a black person, and now is African American, and Then this whole political thing came around with you're not allowed to say, black. You have to say African American. So we're gonna be politically correct. We're gonna say this African American is Ray. There's like 6 steps behind me, and with a gun in his hand, and he says, "Stop." I didn't speak. I spoke few words in English by then. Uh, and he pointed the gun to me. It could have been a 45. I don't know. It was a heavy caliber pistol. It wasn't a revolver. It was a pistol. So he got right close to me, and he says, "Give me your money." I understood that. And mosquitoes again, man. So he was like maybe 6 something tall, and then this little kid, me, skinny, weigh like 90 pounds, 100 pounds. And this guy had a hoodie, had a cap, a cap, a hoodie, and but his face, I remember exactly his face. He had a big beard, and I remember him like it's just today. And he shoved that gun in my throat, and he just lifted me up, and literally he lifted me up. I was staying my toes, you know, my tippy toes to because he was pressing the gun in my throat, and he pushed me on a door entrance to another building, and he repeated his request again. He said, "Give me your money." So I reached for my wallet, and I had in that wallet about, $500-600. I took the wallet. I didn't want to hand him my wallet, so I took my wallet. I opened it, and he reached and take all my money, shove it in his pocket. While meanwhile he's still holding the gun in my throat. And then he go like this, and he walk backwards, like 6 5 steps, looking at me. When he got to the corner, because I haven't walked that much from the corner. I don't know where the heck he was. You know, they were predators. They knew how to do this stuff. They knew where to hide. So he saw my friend take off. He immediately went into action to rob me. So I just stood there and I said, I could have been killed today. And put myself together, kept on walking towards the building, went inside, went to bed, and I woke up, every day, like around 11 a.m., 10 a.m. And my brother happened to be home that day. He didn't work. And I say, "Hey, this morning I got robbed." So what? He said, "How?" I explained to him everything that I just told you guys. And he said, "Why didn't you wake me up and we could have called the cops and, and something." I said, "For what?" They were going to ask me what this guy looked like, what he's wearing, how tall he is, which direction did he go. I said, "You know what? How am I going to know that?" And I said, "I had a gun in my throat. I couldn't see much. I can see his face. He had a beard, he had a hoodie." And he said, okay, we grew up, we grew up, you know, in a rough life. Nothing shakes us. And he said, okay, if you think that, just be careful. I said, well, the guy just dropped me off, and that's when I got robbed. And he said, maybe your friend can drop you off closer to the door. I don't think he ever did. I don't even think I told a couple of people at work that I got robbed. And that's the only time I ever been robbed at gunpoint. But I tell you, that's a weird feeling, knowing that your life depends on that little pull, pop, 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 having that gun shoved in my throat, and he was lifting me, lifting me. You know, that's something that you know, I have excellent friends, African Americans. I never, I could say, well, I hate African Americans because I got robbed by one. No, there's criminals in every race: white, black, blue, green, red. You know, any country, there's criminals. You know, uh, but it's just one of my stories of my younger life in New York, growing up in New York. The thing was in New York then in the 80s, it was like a jungle, a different jungle where I came from, where I grew up. I was born. I was born in a jungle where you had to watch every step because there could be a scorpion, a snake, or a cliff that you fall and break your neck. And New York was a different jungle. It was, you knew in the subways you didn't stand beyond that yellow line because somebody can just, the train's coming and somebody just go flip, boom. So you stood against, you waited for the train with your back against the walls. When you went down the stairs and the subways, you didn't walk in the center like you on the wall. You went along the walls, and you always kept your eyes open for anything that looked suspicious. So I can tell you guys that I have grown in two different jungles: a concrete jungle and a forest jungle. Okay, so I hope you guys, make anything of these stories. It's one of my many, 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 many stories of my life that you know, basically growing up in New York. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.